It's strange. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Prep Week. This is our final week of review with myself and Dr. Swope helping you get prepared. And we have a whole bunch of amazing special guests this week as well. So right now, I'd love to introduce Dr. Elizabeth Yost Hammer. And she is the director of the Center for the Advancement of Teaching and Learning and Faculty Development. And she's also a Kellogg professor at Xavier University. She's a social psychologist who earned her PhD at Tulane. So maybe some of you are planning on going to school there this year or next year. She teaches intro to psych at the university level. She also teaches research methods and health psychology. So she's just a wealth of information for us. Her scholarly interests are teaching and learning. So she's really an advocate for students. She is the co-author of Psychology Applied to Modern Life, which is actually in its 12th edition. And she is very close to psychology in high school too. She is the author of the teacher's edition of the Myers-Dewall AP Psychology textbook, which I know a lot of you read. She is a past president of SciChi, which is the International Honor Society for Psychology undergraduates, so something that you can aspire to soon. She's also the past treasurer of the Society for the Teaching of Psychology. And importantly, too, she is a former chief reader of the AP Psychology exam. And a little bit about her, she lives with her husband and 2 dogs in New Orleans. I should have asked her for dog pictures, I forgot. So, all right, so here she is, Dr. Hammer, thank you.
Nancy, thank you so much for inviting me today to speak to students. This is such an honor for me. As Nancy said, I'm a past chief reader of AP Psych, and I have been involved in AP Psychology since longer than any of you have even been alive. I started as a reader, became a table leader, and then eventually chief reader. And I'm going to go back and be a reader again this year. So for those of you who are listening, just know I'm really looking forward to reading your work. And that's kind of what I wanted to start with today, and the time I have with you is just to say that we really care about the work that you're doing. None of us ask for this social distancing. None of us ask for this new normal. I understand that, as Ms. Fenton said, I teach at the college level, and I understand that my students are not in situations where they can do their best learning, and me and my faculty, we are not in situations where we can do our very best teaching. We're all having to kind of learn as we go along and kind of go with the flow on things, and none of us ask for this. However, the fact that you are sticking with it and doing these AP review sessions and really getting this information is just so inspiring, and it bodes so well for how you're going to do once you get to college as well, because then you know once you're there and you hit a bump, hey, the learning continues and the learning goes on. So I tell my own students all the time how proud I am of them, and I just want to say the same thing to you. I'm proud of you, and I'm proud of the work that you're doing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the questions are and then reading your responses. I had this gave me a couple of questions from students to answer, so I thought I would tackle those, and they'll say a couple of things. There's some really good questions you all came up with, so thank you for asking these things. In no particular order, here's one. What type of research or area of psychology are you most interested in studying? So me personally, I am a social psychologist by training, and within social psychology, I really like the interpersonal relationship stuff. Now, here's how my undergraduate mentor kind of helped me find social psychology. When I knew I wanted to go into graduate school in psychology, I knew I wanted to pursue this. What she said is, she said, what's your favorite part of psychology? And I said, I don't know, I like it all. And so she gave me an intro psych textbook and said, take this and find your favorite chapter and come back to me. So I went and looked at all the chapters, and I came back and I said, I really like the social psych chapter. And then she says, great, now take this social psych textbook and take it for the weekend, find your favorite chapter and come back to me. And I really liked the relationships chapter. I liked studying how other people influence our behavior and how we interact with other people and what makes friendships last and what makes friendships click or not. So that's what I'm really interested in. But then I became a college professor and immediately fell in love with teaching. And just my favorite part of any of my weeks is being in the classroom with my students. So once I actually became a professional, I quickly shifted my research from looking at interpersonal relationships broadly and looking at teacher-student relationships and what teachers can do interpersonally to enhance learning. So what are the characteristics I bring to the classroom that can help your learning? So that's kind of the research I'm most interested in. Then in my later career, I taught health psych and just loved it, loved health psych. And you're going to hear a little bit more about that later. So now I'm also really interested in anything that enhances our well-being. So another question, and this one came from Jaden at Heritage High School. So thanks, Jaden. What is the key to operationalizing variables? And now this is a great question because this semester, one class that I am teaching now via Zoom is advanced research. And in this class, it's a sophomore level class, students go from coming up with an original hypothesis, an idea, hypothesis, all the way to gathering, designing the study, gathering the data, analyzing the data, presenting it, like they do the whole thing. And so we talk a lot about operationalizing our variables. So I'm going to give everyone a moment. I'm going to count to 4 in my head, and I'm going to give you a moment to think. What is the definition of an operational definition? What's the definition of operational definition? Write it down or say it out loud right now. Okay, so you know what it is. It's a statement of how researchers actually measure the variables in their studies. Right? I know you can say that in a number of different ways, but basically an operational definition is the process by which you're measuring the variable in studies. So how do you decide how to operationalize your definitions? It totally depends on the research question that you're asking. That should drive it, right? If I'm asking a question about, like, let's say my variable's love, well, I'm going to measure it really differently if I'm looking at love between families or love between partners or spouses, or love between me and my puppies, right? Those are all different kinds of love. So your operational definition should depend on your research question, but it also really depends on just practicality too. And I just want to share with you that my students this semester, some of them had to change their operational definitions because we were no longer doing the studies face-to-face, because we shifted to remote teaching. And so now we have to do the studies, have to do the studies online. So they had to change their operational definitions. So practicality can do this too. How much time do you have? How much money do you have? But you should let the research question drive it mainly. Thanks, Jaden. Okay, so another one, and this is from I think it's pronounced Aria from Saudi Arabia. Aria, I hope I got your name right, from Saudi Arabia. And I have actually visited Saudi Arabia, so I was so glad to see this come across. What's the difference between when researchers use descriptive versus inferential statistics? And again, which statistic you're going to use, it should be driven by what's your research question, right? What was your research design? Did you do a descriptive study where you're just looking at a population and a sample and describing it? Or are you trying to compare differences between groups to see if there's a difference, right? So your research question and your research design should really, really do this. If I am interested in what's the mean AP, I know you all are going to take a free response question after this. So what's the mean score on this free response question? And I just want to see from everybody who takes it, what was the average score? That would be descriptive, right? And I could see how many males and females took it. That would be descriptive. But if I wanted to then compare, let's say people who took it under this situation and people who took it on another and see if there's a difference between the two, then I'm getting into inferential statistics. So it depends what kind of question you ask. Okay, And the last one, which I think is really a really good one. And again, it just kind of indicates to me that I know there's a lot of worry out there about taking the AP exam, right? This is new. This is, you don't have a schema, to use another psych word, social psych, you don't have a schema for how to do this, right? Moving forward in this new environment. So someone asked, how do I take my test in a completely silent environment like we would in school? I know there will be some noise levels such as cars, birds chirping, my neighbors doing whatever they do, etc. And I'm afraid I'll get distracted. So my question is, how do I stay focused? Okay, so one is you can't take your test in a completely silent environment like you would at school because you're not taking it at school. Right? So the reality is you're going to be taking it in a more distracted environment, an environment where maybe you're not used to doing all your learning. So accept that, realize it, and then start to prepare for it. And use psychology to help you out, right? So I'm going to give you another term and I'm going to give you a few seconds to define it. What is context-dependent memory? Okay. So in context-dependent memory, right, you know that you can recall things better, retrieve information better if you're retrieving it in the same situation or environment as where you encoded it. So what I'm saying is don't study in your bed. Don't study in, slouched on the couch. Study where you're going to be taking the exam. From here on out, study where you're going to be taking the exam. That way you get used to those noises, you get used to those birds chirping. I love that, but that's the big distraction, right? Birds. But you get used to the birds, you get used to the neighbors. Start studying now. Start putting in your practice sessions. When you do this practice free response question tonight, be sure that or this afternoon, be sure that you are doing it where you're going to take the test. Get used to those distractions and then do the best that you can. So thank you so much. Those are really good questions, and I'm really glad that you asked them. And I'm glad that you feel comfortable asking all of us here who are here to support you. So in closing, the things that I'd like to say is I'd like to give you a little piece of self-care advice. And again, this is coming from my interest in health psychology. We now know that there are lifestyle choices that we can make that are so good for us, and they're under our control. And so I'm going to challenge you to make really good choices so that you're giving your brain every benefit it has to get ready and then really excel on this test. The first is get some sleep, and get sleep at regular times. Don't just sleep all the time at all hours of the day because you can. Start putting yourself on a nice sleep schedule. You know from doing the sleep modules of the AP Psychology course how important sleep is in the consolidation of memories and in just overall general well-being. So get some sleep. Get some physical activity. Please, get outside and or inside, wherever you're doing it, get your heart rate up. Just kind of get some physical activity. It's going to go a long way, again, in just kind of helping you feel better and then helping you perform to the maximum that you can. And then just eat healthy. Try to just, again, think of this as like an AP exam boot camp and put yourself in this little healthy wellness boot camp to get ready to do a wellness test. Everything that's good for you is going to be good for your learning and good for your performance on this exam. So as I'm done, I just want to say, finish strong. You've been working hard all year, so don't lose all this effort you've put in all year in this last little stretch, in this last little weird stretch, right? You can do it. Finish strong, and I really can't wait for you all to be in college with us in the fall. So thank you so much for letting me be here.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much, Dr. Hammer. That means a lot that you took time out to come talk to everyone. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, everyone, we're going to get started with today's practice. So welcome to Prep Week, like I said, for the 2020 exams. And today we're going to give you an opportunity to actually practice in real time. So you're going to complete 2 questions that are representative of the tasks you're going to see this year. So these questions are designed to be similar, but they are not intended to be representative of the content that will be assessed, right? So it's a general idea. Remember, you're going to have a concept application and then a research question. When you're done, what you can do is you can, on the actual AP exam day, you're either going to copy and paste your typed response. So maybe you open a second browser for that. You can type your response in Google Docs. You can do it in Word, Notes, right? You're going to type your AP ID and initials at the top. And you're going to look out for that timer. When it has 5 minutes remaining, you're going to copy and paste and submit. So we're going to have a timer up today so you can kind of watch that and get an idea of how it's going to go. So again, window 1, you're going to have Chrome or Firefox. You're going to see the exam question. And you're also going to have window 2 where you're typing your document. Option 2 is you can attach a document rather than copy and paste, right? So you can do this with a .doc, .docx, a PDF, a TXT, or an ODT. Don't use any other format. And again, you can pause this video, you can rewind, you can take screenshots, make sure you are comfortable with which option is best for you. And if you prefer to handwrite, that's fine too, right? Again, you're going to add your AP ID or initials on each page. And you can have up to 5 photos, right, per test question. So hopefully you're going to use this maybe on lined paper, take a picture with your phone, and upload those at the end. So again, during that 5-minute upload period, you want to make sure that you use that to be uploading your response. You don't want the timer to go out and you haven't submitted. So again, you can also practice. I'm going to give you a link at the end where you can practice uploading. So you can do that before exam day. And again, you're submitting your responses as a 2-step process. You're going to attach either a document or your photos, or you're going to copy and paste. If you copy and paste your answer into the response box and you want to add to it, you're going to have to re-copy and paste. You can't type in the actual box. And again, you'll get a better idea of this if you use the practice, the simulator that has been set up for you. And there is, of course, you can see it here, if kind of something goes wrong. If you don't see that, you can go to the link that allows you to request a makeup, right? You can explain the situation. Maybe you have 48 hours to do this, so maybe your internet goes out or something else happens. So there is kind of a oops button that you can use, sort of. Okay, so this is today's sample question 1. So I'm going to put it up for you and I'm going to set the timer at 25 minutes and then you're going to have 5 minutes to submit. So as soon as I start this timer, I want you to read the question and type it in a Word document, or if you're going to use another word processing, if you're going to handwrite it and take a photo, I want you to practice today the same way you're going to practice, the way you're going to take it on the exam. And when the timer gets down to 5 minutes left, I'm going to prompt you. On exam day, it's not going to prompt you, but it does turn red. So maybe you want to set an alarm on a watch or a little alarm clock just to make sure that you are keeping track of time. So here we have question 1, and you have 25 minutes and 5 minutes to submit. So I'm going to mute my video and my sound so that I won't be a distraction to you. Just a heads up, we are just under 5 minutes. So at this point, you would be finishing your essay and getting ready to um, upload your response. So you would either be copying and pasting or attaching documents in the form of like a document you wrote on or images. Okay, so that was your finished time, including the 5 minutes to submit. So what would happen is you would hit submit and there'd be a button that says continue. And you want to hit the continue button because that question is going to start right on time, right? So if you don't hit continue and you wait 5 minutes, when you do hit continue, that clock has already been counted down. So I do have a slight change I need to make to this. This is actually 15 minutes and 5 minutes to submit for the research methods question. Glad I caught that so I didn't cause any confusion. So for sample question 2, so your first question was concept application. You have 25 minutes and has 8 tasks. That's the question you just took with Jackie. So hopefully you made note that for the first 5 terms, you needed to have in your application that these ideas helped her performance. And in the bottom 3, it had to hinder. So now with the research method questions, the same thing. I'm going to give you 15 minutes and 5 minutes to submit. So there's going to be 20 minutes on the clock. And when it gets to 5 minutes left, that clock will turn red, but there's no buzzer, there's no sound, right? So you need to practice for that now. And you want to make sure that you really have enough time. Like you don't want to wait till like the last second to upload. You definitely need those 5 minutes to make sure that you get everything uploaded correctly. So here is sample question 2, and I'm going to start the timer right away and mute my video. All right, guys, we are under the 5-minute mark, so you should be uploading. And remember, you can use that AP exam demo. You would just type in practice if you wanted to just get a feel for how it works. Okay, so the timer is up. That was 15 minutes. So I hope that gave you a really good sense of how this is going to go on exam day. And what's going to happen is tomorrow when we meet, I'm going to go over the rubric and we're going to talk about some tips and some ideas to prepare further for these types of questions. And on Wednesday, we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to give you 2 new questions fully timed with Dr. Swope. On Thursday, we'll go over those. And on Friday, again, lots of special guests all week, but some pretty big guests on Friday. Plus, we're going to go over a bunch of extra tips. So I wanted to point out for you a really great resource. So if you go to AP Central, you can see right here, you have the 2019 free response questions. So students can see this. It's not where you can't find it. And you can click on the questions. There was a set 1 and a set 2. And then you can look at the scoring guides and you can even look at the chief reader reports. You can kind of see the common strengths and some common misconceptions students had. And then finally, there's a set of sample responses. So you can see, for example, and say a 7-point question, an example of a student who got a 3, a 5, a 7, and which points they got correct and why. And you can go back and you can look at the 2018 and the 2017 and the 2016. So if you scroll, like the 2019 is what's going to show up first. But if you click right here on practice free response questions, you can go back even earlier. And this is just another resource for you to use to practice for the AP exam. Okay, again, AP Psych students, if you have any questions, you want to send them to myself or Dr. Swope. And if you have any questions specifically for some of our upcoming guests, so tomorrow we are going to have Dr. Amy Feinberg, who is the psychology lead for AP Psychology at the College Board. And we're also going to have Dr. Angela Duckworth, who is a researcher in motivation and grit and helping you to develop these like long-term skills. And just a few shout outs to some of the amazing students that have asked really great questions. So again, happy to give you guys the shout out. If you have any specific questions about today's exam and you can get them to me, maybe we can get those answered for you tomorrow. Also, I wanted a little shout out to some of our AP Psychology student pets, and it really does make me very happy when you guys send a picture of your animals. So on the left, we have Rusty. In the center, we have Lampshade, the tortoise. And then we have Emily Lou, the 8-month-old puppy on the right. So thanks again for these pictures. If you are willing to let us share a picture of your pet or use your name, like your first name in your school, you have to say that explicitly in your email. But if you just want your question answered, we can do that too. And we're going to do our very best to answer as many as possible, either directly or during these sessions. And just another little quick thing to show you some links that you can take, a screenshot. You can pause this place and find a bunch of resources, right? So if you go to AP Classroom, that's where you're going to see those released FRQs with rubrics. They'll have like a little green target sign. There's that demo site that I strongly recommend you practice. You'll have a sense of how it's going to go on exam day. There's also number 4 is huge. It's exam day checklist. You want to read that probably before exam day. The videos, a lot of them, they're really short, and I strongly recommend you taking a look at them. If you're taking music theory or world language, they have some kind of course specific details that you might want to check out. Thanks so much for watching, and thanks again to Dr. Elizabeth Hammer for coming in and giving us such great advice and talking through some really complex terms. If you have any questions that you would like our guest speakers to answer, or Dr. Swope or I, please let us know, and happy studying. See you guys tomorrow.